We actually got a couple emails last week that said, loved the episode with VJ. However, he did make one prediction. Marjorie Taylor Greene might become an anti-imperialist. Now, he was clearly joking in this prediction, folks. He made the joke. She might join Code Pink. However, Axios just reported a few days ago that Marjorie Taylor Greene, because of her feud with Trump, did tip off Code Pink to a restaurant he was going to be eating at, making even Vijay Prashad's bits come true on accident. This man is too powerful.
Comrade Marjorie, welcome to the
Oh,
resistance.
God. We don't have to give her any credit for that, but that's a funny ass thing that happened. And I had to acknowledge that. And it was great video of Trump getting yelled at. Those
Yeah.
Code Pink ladies, the fact that they still get in places is remarkable to me. I met Medea Benjamin once, and she really is like kind of the quietest, most unassuming. Like, really, you just don't notice she's there. She is like maybe 5 feet tall. I guess that's what you got to do to slip in and ruin a politician's day.
Yes. I love it. Good for her. She seems like such a sweetheart, too.
It's interesting because I've only ever seen videos of her just like, screaming at people that deserve to be screamed at. And she's just
Right.
so soft spoken. It
Yes.
was lovely. And she gave me a sticker that said make out, not war. So that was nice.
That's great.
Um, well, that's great. Just about nothing else is.
Damn it. I was really looking forward to a positive, hopeful, everything is going to be okay episode. Is that not what's happening this week, Jacob?
We have some positivity. Lenore is helping the Venezuelans currently with a sort of madcap scheme in which they will steal Donald Trump. Donald Trump will, as he claimed on Truth Social, become president of Venezuela, and Maduro will be crowned president of the United States.
Honestly, thank you, Lenore, for your dedicated work to the cause. Welcome, President Maduro. Thank you.
And thank you to Venezuela for being willing to accept Donald Trump as
Just
your interim
swap.
president.
Yeah, you guys got the shit end of that deal.
I like the idea of Maduro as president in the United States, but JD Vance still has to be vice president.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we know what we have to discuss. On January 7th, unfortunately, Renée Nicole Good was killed by an ICE agent named Jonathan Ross. Her last words were, "I'm not mad at you," and Jonathan Ross's first words after it were calling her a fucking bitch. Within hours, JD Vance, Donald Trump, and Kristi Noem were calling her a domestic terrorist. People were hitting the streets by the thousands. There have been at least 800 protests nationally since, distinct protests.
Mhm.
Fox News was fear mongering. Democrats walked the line of criticizing ICE while also criticizing protesters and deploying police against them. Now, this is not even close to ICE's first killing. Keith Porter Jr., an LA father of two, was murdered by an ICE agent on New Year's Eve just a few weeks ago. Details about his death are unknown due to a lack of video footage. The city of LA responded to BLM Los Angeles' demands to investigate by saying there will not be an investigation, nor will there be a prosecution.
Don't they have to investigate when somebody gets shot?
They
Do
cleaned
what
up, they did
they
their investigation, quote unquote, in like an
Oh.
hour and said they had done it, so they don't need to do it
Yeah, they
anymore.
asked the ICE guy, he gave them his story, and they're like, that's good enough
Yeah.
for us."
Now, The
Wow.
Guardian reported that 2025 tied for ICE's deadliest year on record, with 32 reported dead while in custody. Now, I'll add that I think we should note that there is no reason to trust the official numbers. 32
Mhm.
is a floor, not a ceiling. We
Right.
know from these last few days how quickly these institutions lie, even when the cameras are pointed right at them.
Mhm.
So we have no reason to think they wouldn't bullshit when the cameras are off.
A quick note about those ICE deaths. I made it like a TikTok about them. And it was so long, it went over the limit, and I had to make 2 videos. That's how many people have died, known people whose names we have that have died in ICE custody. And so many of them, they're calling it natural causes, right? But like the guy's 36. Or they're like, oh, he just died of natural causes and he was like 52 and fine beforehand. If you are denying somebody their medication, if you're denying somebody their insulin that they need to live, or their blood pressure medication, things that a lot of us take very regularly without really thinking too much about it, because that's just part of being a human. Our bodies are fallible. When you are denied that medication that you need, sure, it's natural that you die within a week or two, but it's because of refusing to take care of these people.
I mean, numerous deaths ascribed to tuberculosis, Jen.
What the fuck?
I mean, come
Tuberculosis?
on. Like, why do we got people dying of tuberculosis?
In these, like,
Uh,
confined, dirty quarters, it's horrifying.
they died of seizure, heart
Mm,
failure, stroke, respiratory failure, tuberculosis, multiple suicides. Families
mhm,
and lawyers have alleged that they died of neglect after repeatedly trying and failing to get medical care. Way more people have been deported by the thousands, often to countries that they have never been to, or even if it is their country of origin, somewhere they haven't seen in years and years. Often
mhm,
they left, not often, always they left for a good reason. A lot of them deported to places like CSOT, right, in
mhm,
El Salvador, where they are basically put in a permanent labor camp. We
right.
saw the videos of Christy Nome standing over all these guys with shaved heads. A friend of mine, whose name I won't say for obvious reasons, who is undocumented,
Mm,
he was detained under ICE during the Biden administration
mhm.
for something like 6 months in Folkestone,
Whoa,
Georgia.
whoa.
By all accounts, things have accelerated since then, but his description of the facility then was, food full of maggots, never getting their medication, guards that paid no attention to them. Some days they'd be remembered to get food and water, some days they wouldn't. They were supposed to be able to get outside time, they would be just, laughed at or forgotten. Their agreement to phone calls wouldn't happen. Lawyers, stuff like that wouldn't happen. They could get moved between facilities without notifying anybody. I mean, just some really horrible stuff. Physical abuse. His foot was swelling up from a condition he had, and he couldn't get anyone to see it. When he
Hmm.
did see a doctor, the doctor gave him 2 Tylenol. That's the type of shit that's happening. And he was talking about those conditions drove him to fear and wanting to die. And indeed, some people do kill themselves,
Yeah,
all
wow.
because he's from a Latin American country that he has not seen since he was 3 years old.
As if that was his decision to even come here at 3 years old. Was
Exactly.
he, is he DACA?
He is, yes, which is
He
why
is,
he
and
was able to get out.
they still took him for 6 months. Some of those people on that list that I was reading were also DACA recipients, which was, look, Obama did a lot of really fucked up stuff, including all his deportations and hiring Tom Homan in the first place. But DACA was supposed to be a good thing that he did that was supposed to help these people that came here as children. And we just once again see these failures in these band-aid reforms that get passed to maybe kind of make things okay for some people, but the next guy that comes along can just throw it all in the trash.
And the thing about DACA is that doesn't happen without the Day Without an Immigrant protest and strike in
Mm,
2006. Possibly the biggest general strike in US history by just
mhm,
sheer numbers.
mm,
That had huge economic repercussions and like
mhm,
shifted the line. So, worth keeping in mind when we think about organizing. It's tough shit out here and things are ramping up everywhere, especially in Minnesota,
mm,
Minneapolis, and St. Paul specifically.
mhm.
It's partially due to claims of, quote, Somali daycare fraud, end quote. I want to note there's like not even 100,000 Somalian people in the United States.
Mhm.
There's this idea that there's some like elaborate fraud scheme. First of all, I don't care if there is, like, get the money you can from the government. Second of all, there's no evidence of it. It's just guys like YouTubers going up to daycares, banging on the doors and said, let me see the children.
Which
No,
is, come on. Like,
no, they should get shut down if they let that freak inside.
yes, yeah. This whole idea that the US government would ever give a fuck about fraud anyway, like, what are we even as far as, like, manufacturing consent for something goes, like, it's so weak when we look at what our billionaires are doing. Literally every company that has ever existed in this country. But there are people
The
that
COVID
got, like,
loans.
millions of dollars in those COVID loans that they got
Forgiven.
fully forgiven, and they don't have to pay them back, and a lot of that, instead of going to the employees, it ended up they just pocketed it. But no, we don't care about that. We don't care that the Pentagon has never, passed an audit, but God forbid some Somalis that have been here for 2 generations, like, accidentally fudged a line on their tax return.
Even if they did outright take it, what's more American than like lying on your taxes?
It's so true. Come on, we wanted them to assimilate, that's what they're doing.
Exactly. Trump's beef with Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz is
Mm,
definitely
mhm.
partially at play with this. And
Personal,
also
yeah.
punishment for the George Floyd uprisings. I really
Mhm,
think so. This killing was less than a mile from where George Floyd died.
mm,
Agricultural and child care money has been barred to the state going
mm.
forward indefinitely under review. ICE thugs are not communicating with the state or local government, even their law enforcement, who we're not fans of by any stretch of imagination. These are the people who killed George Floyd, are like, they're not even telling us where they're driving their unmarked vans full of dudes wearing masks and guns.
Right.
You're asking for a crisis in this
Mhm,
situation.
mm.
The state and city are not being allowed to investigate Renee's killing, much less ICE's other activities and movements. It is a breakdown. I mean, Prim Thacker held an interview with Minnesota. Prim Thacker held an interview with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison a few days after the killing, and the
He's
Attorney
still the
General,
attorney general? What?
oh yeah, and the Attorney General pushed back on JD Vance's claim that ICE agents have absolute immunity, which is what
Mm,
JD said.
mm.
Ellison said maybe he's deliberately lying, maybe he just doesn't know, but you can be prosecuted for abusing your authority, which is like a pretty weak
And
response. Even
yeah.
then, he's like, JD, didn't you know that we're allowed to prosecute? Yeah, he fucking knows. He doesn't give a shit, dude.
Does it matter if there's nobody willing to do it? Like, I'm just really tired of all of these liberals being like, they're not supposed to do that. Of course, they're not supposed to do that. But if literally nobody is going to hold these people accountable at any level, then it doesn't matter. Who cares what they're supposed to do? And a lot of this leads me to feel like, as an activist, if the rules don't matter for them, the rules shouldn't matter for us. And I think people should, I don't know, escalate?
They're bursting into your home illegally with fucking masks and no badges. You're not even escalating like extra legally by
Right,
defending yourself.
right.
Renee Nicole Good was not committing any kind of crime. ICE agents have no authority over US citizens. Now, we
Right.
know in Minneapolis they're grabbing just about whoever. We know
Mhm.
there are numerous US citizens who have been deported, detained, beaten, etc. We know Donald Trump is now sending ICE agents to intimidate his political enemies. He literally sent contingent of ICE agents outside a recent Gavin Newsom speech to just like, I don't know, try to mog him or whatever.
As if
Uh,
Gavin Newsom is even an enemy of his. They have so much in common. It's all
it's
just fake at that point.
yes and no. I do think Trump perceives a lot of these Democrats as his
Mm,
enemies. The best comparison I can think of is to think about like the Civil War in the United States, right? The South in the Civil War and the lead up to it was really like winning a lot. They won the Dred Scott decision. The candidates running against them weren't even talking about abolishing slavery. They were not existentially threatened, and they decided they were existentially threatened by the heat turning up,
mhm,
such that they caused this split in the ruling class.
mhm.
Not the other way around. The sort of liberal wing of the ruling class, the northern whatever industrialists, didn't cause the split. It was this like reactionary rupture. And I think
Mhm.
that the Trump types really do represent this illogical reactionary rupture. And that's where
Mm.
we see these breakdowns in communication between ICE and law enforcement that would be happy to help them, between
Right.
Donald Trump and Tim Walz, who said at
Mhm.
the debate that he was going to crack down on illegal immigrants. I think that's part of this sort of illogical breakdown as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Something recently just happened in Austin I was reading about. Austin APD specifically declined to work in conjunction with ICE. It was a big deal for the city. Some other cities in Texas have said that as well. You don't have to call ICE if you in your normal policing come across undocumented people. But they did just because recently they were dealing with a mother, an undocumented mother, and her like 4-year-old American citizen daughter. They found out that the mother was undocumented and called ICE just because they could, not even because they had to. So anyone that is thinking that, oh, maybe the Minneapolis police or National Guard or whatever will come and arrest ICE or stop them in some ways, it's time to realize that like these guys are all on the same side and that's not our side.
This is not coming without significant pushback. There
Mm,
have been calls now made for mass protests on January 20th. There's a
mm,
big call out. Both PSL has put out that call, 5501 has put out that call, General
mhm.
Strike US has put out that call. A number of unions are now signing on to it. And in Minneapolis
Nice.
itself, on January 23rd, there's a no work, no school called by numerous unions, including the St. Paul Educators, the Transit Union, and the ATU. which, as I identified earlier, the Day Without Immigrants strike and demonstrations shook the country in a significant way in 2006 going forward. We would not have DACA without that. That's not the revolution, but it sure is important to the people who don't get their heads cracked open and dragged to a prison and deported to a fucking concentration camp. So
Mhm.
that's meaningful for us to participate in if we have the capacity to. I would recommend people look into local demonstrations or whatever way you can plug in. Is this going to be the general strike? Probably not, realistically.
No.
We're not that level of organized, but calling for
Right.
those sort of things, that being introduced into our lexicon, even, I think that's meaningful.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, polling has been interesting to me, Jen. Have you seen the new Data for Progress polls that have come out this last couple
I
days?
I have not.
So, Data for Progress as a think tank is rather obnoxious in some of their
Mm.
suggestions, but
Mhm.
they do a pretty good job actually asking questions, getting data. They've got some good numbers that came out yesterday on people's opinions on ICE right
Mm.
now after the
Okay.
murder
Okay.
and people's opinion on the murder in particular. 84% of Dems think that Renee's murder was not justified.
84%? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
58% of independents believe it was not justified. And 17% of Republicans said it was not justified.
17%?
Now, another 15% of Republicans answered that they did not feel confident answering the question and didn't know enough.
That's still only 30%. That's
And
sad.
so, polling likely voters,
Mm.
overall, 52% said not justified, 12% said they
Oh,
did not know, and 36% said justified.
that,
However, I will note
mm,
undocumented migrants were not counted in this poll because, again, it's likely voters.
sure. Yeah.
People under the age of 18 were not counted in this poll. Felons were not counted in this poll. And people in communities that overwhelmingly do not vote were not counted in this poll. I would wager a guess that those communities are going to be disproportionately against this killing.
Sure.
Certainly the migrant community, certainly young people. The numbers are less exciting than I was hoping they were going
That
to be.
is, yeah, you started off strong. Although honestly, 84% of Democrats saying it was not justified. Like, what are the rest of them thinking? That's a little jarring.
Something like 8 or 9% of them said they didn't know what they thought of it. It was like in the 3 or 4%. To Data for Progress's credit, I think they really did try to get a realistic sample size of the American
Mhm.
population there and ask some pretty low information voters
Yeah.
here on both sides of the
Yeah.
aisle. The same survey found ICE to be a net unfavorable with Americans by 4 points.
Mm.
That's the first time in American history ICE has ever been net unfavorable.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Numbers like this, you're like, look, it's trending correctly, but I'm like, what in the fuck is wrong with these Americans?
46% of the country that are voters
Mhm. Mhm.
still find ICE to be favorable or moderately favorable.
I guess it really goes to show that propaganda works. And when you
Mhm.
have this propaganda being spewed, and I know liberals think that they're so smart because they don't watch Fox News and they think that they aren't getting propagandized because they watch MSNBC or whatever. They still love Obama and everything that he did. That is a little more disheartening than I expected it to be. I got to be
Now,
honest with you.
I'll link the study. People can see. Now, there are communities that I think we could consider allies if they get organized that are not
Sure.
counted in this poll. Like I said,
Sure.
millions of undocumented people not counted in these polls.
Even if it was 60-40, I would find that to be pretty disheartening.
Well, Donald Trump's own approval rating is abysmal right now. He is underperforming ICE,
That's
which is
good.
kind of strange, right? He's down into the low 30s by certain polls. There's no credible poll that has him aggregation that has him above 40%
Mm.
approval.
Mhm.
Trump is only losing to the likes of Chuck Schumer, who is in the high 20%. Don't
Nobody
like him
likes that
either.
guy. Yeah, nobody likes that guy.
Yeah, Trump's best possible numbers come from CNN, which put him at about 40% approval with 56% disapproval,
Hmm.
which puts him, even in that case, let's give him 40% approval.
Mhm.
That puts him below his first term and Biden at this point. Most polls have him lower than Biden ever was, or at least roughly tied at Biden at his absolute lowest.
That is amazing.
I mean, he's pushing Richard Nixon about to be impeached numbers right
I mean,
now.
he's just not likable, and I feel like that was kind of always his problem when it comes to just generic polling. He is just gross, right? And honestly, the Epstein stuff probably helps push a few people that were like, I like the bold, crass rhetoric, but is he in those Epstein files?
Jim, what would you guess Congress's approval numbers are?
Oh, I mean, probably a lower than Trump's. I think Congress numbers are in the low 20s, aren't they?
17% approval rating of Congress,
Yeah, fuck those guys.
80% disapproval.
Hey, look, you know what? If this is what it takes for us to come together as an American people, that's fine. We can start with Congress. You know, when the
Yeehaw.
revolution comes, it seems like that's where the popular support is. We can start with them before we move on. Honestly, Mr. Beast is at the top of my list. That's a whole nother story. But we can start with Congress to bring the people together.
Congress, very, very unpopular. Now individual Congress people, they vary in their popularity level.
Sure,
Again,
sure.
Chuck Schumer doing very poorly among both Republicans, Democrats, and independents.
Yeah.
We're talking about a system that's so deeply illegitimate in the eyes of so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And again, 17% approval rating. We're not even talking here to undocumented immigrants. How do they probably feel about Congress and Trump and
Right.
ICE? I could venture a guess,
Yeah.
right? If the government is this unpopular and it's this
Mm-hmm.
unpopular consistently, and both
Mm-hmm.
sides are so unpopular,
Mm.
then what is it going to take for there to be some kind of rupture, some kind of new force in politics?
I think that is a really good jumping off point. If so many people are mad at the system, which is essentially what that is, right? Congress is a very open representation of what the system is. Maybe that is a good way to start reaching people and talking about there are other ways of doing things.
Osita Nuenevu, which by the way, Osita, if you're listening, please come on the show. I have emailed you. Uh
Check
gr-
your inbox.
yeah, check your inbox, Osita. He wrote a book called We the People, and it was a study on democracy. And basically makes the argument that the US Congress is the most undemocratic, democratic body
Mm,
in the world, basically, especially the
yeah.
Senate. He goes across everything from the way the numbers are crunched to the money spent
Mm,
to voting
mm-hmm.
procedures to the filibuster. He breaks it down very, very well. And I find that to be a useful book if you're trying to talk to someone who's maybe more of a, let's use the sort of term like a normie lib or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, here's why these systems are failing so
Mm-hmm.
consistently. Now, a lot of them want to go back to a time of bipartisan cooperation, and then you can be like, well, here's why that sucks. But I
Mm-hmm.
will say a lot of, I think, normal liberals, your 5501 types, your indivisible types, are not really interested in bipartisanship anymore. The way the
Yeah.
Republicans have not been interested in a hot minute. I
Yeah.
think you're seeing that on the other side. That doesn't mean they're rushing to something radical, but I mean, just tweet like prosecute the entire US government and you're going to go viral on Wine Mom Twitter. You know what I mean?
I'm glad we brought this around to things that are a little more hopeful because that first stat you dropped was jarring. People aren't stupid. That was kind of hard for me to say because I don't know how much I actually believe it. People
Depends on the
aren't
people.
fair. People aren't stupid, but they're ignorant. And there is a difference in those two things. And that people aren't stupid in the way that people understand that they are struggling in ways that they weren't 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and on, depending on, you know, how old you are and what your situation is. People aren't stupid when they go to the grocery store and things are more expensive, right? People aren't stupid when they try to buy a house and understand that like their wages don't get them what they got for their parents, right? Those obvious things that we know intrinsically something is wrong, but people are ignorant as to what caused this, what is continuing to cause this, and how to fight back, what the other options are. Because people are extremely afraid of the words socialism. They're afraid of the words revolution. They're afraid of losing the small little crumbs that they do still have. And ICE killing a white woman is an escalation in what has already been happening for a very long time. The police murder an average of 3 American civilians every day. Every day. We have just become numb to that, right? Until a big thing happens where it's caught on camera. It's like a George Floyd where this was extremely egregious. I think they all are. I've seen far too many videos of black men specifically being shot in the back, right, while running away. The police are always like, oh, I feared for my life or whatever. Somehow that still works.
Johnny Hallman here in Atlanta, not
Mhm.
far from where I'm sitting. Johnny was right like in sight of Morehouse College,
Mm,
and he was a deacon
mhm.
driving back from his Bible study. They love to say the no angel thing. This guy was as close to an angel as you could humanly be on
Right.
the phone with his daughter.
Ugh,
And he gets in a fender bender. They call the police to just like work out insurance details, and he ends up tased and choked to death, and jack shit happens.
right.
A dude gets out of an 18 wheeler to help the cop beat up on him, and nothing happens. Just some guy, an ex cop, who decides, like, I guess he
Ugh.
misses
Yeah.
brutality. And there is no justice for that
Never.
that's
Yeah.
allowed, even though we have the video. I don't know. I mean, I met his family, and I just feel like it didn't get nearly as much coverage as things did
Yeah.
because of, as someone from the Atlanta Journal Constitution told me once, Black Death is played. That was their
Right.
quote.
Right. I hard recommend everyone read Blood in My Eye by George Jackson.
Mm.
That book was written in like 1969, 1970 while he was in prison, a black man in prison. He was young. He was in his like mid 20s when he was murdered in prison. He makes this point that like fascism is here. And as a black man living under that boot, like that is what has been felt by that community since the foundation of this country. When white people specifically see Renee Good being murdered point blank, broad daylight, a white woman, it is jarring and it should be jarring and it should fucking piss you off.
Yes.
But it's so important that people realize that it's not just ICE, that it's not specifically, especially not just this one asshole. It is the entire system that surrounds it. And I really, really, really need people to be angry, not just about this one woman, but about all like 1,100 people that were murdered by the police just last year, right? All of these people were people with families that cared about them. It's so cheesy. I feel so cheesy saying it, but these are people that had community and had things they wanted to do with their life. And for one reason or another, wrong place at the wrong time, angry cop, system of oppression, and their life was just cut short with no due process. Like, I am against capital punishment in this country, but they don't even get that. They don't even get that day in court. They're just executed on the street. So, yes, be angry about Renee Good, but be angry about all of the thousands of people that you don't even know their names. And I feel like that is even more tragic that these people are just anonymous deaths in our oppressive system.
I'm literally getting a news alert as we talk,
Oh,
NBC
God.
News, that on the very street where Renee died, there's clashes between ICE and protesters happening right now. Violent clashes. Apparently not like normal law enforcement. Like ICE personally rolled up on the protests to tear
Mm.
gas them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know a lot of details, but I'm seeing some photos that there's clashes, tear gas. People are being driven out of the houses on the residential street because they can't like breathe in their homes. It's getting fucking real.
And as it should. It should get fucking real. We should be pissed. We should be out in the streets. Technically, ICE doesn't have any jurisdiction over citizens. Obviously, that doesn't matter. You're not safe. You're not safe in your white skin, and you're not safe with your American passport. And so it's time to stop feeling like you're going to be protected by those things because you probably never were, especially as a poor or working class person, but you really aren't at all anymore.
The good news is also connected to the bad news. Ken Klippenstein actually just published a really solid article on his Substack.
Tin Clip, come
Um,
on the show.
yes, please. He has been getting into basically the psyche of ICE agents. He was able to interview, with the promise of anonymity, numerous people in the ICE structure and
Mm.
also get emails that are being sent around. I'm going to read a little bit of this article, though I'll link the whole thing in the show notes so you can read the whole thing yourself and review all the data. He provides receipts. Says, in the wake of an ICE officer's killing of Renee Good, the Department of Homeland Security is rolling out what they call Operation Metro Surge.
Mm.
Fucking losers.
Mhm.
Flooding Minneapolis with hundreds of additional federal agents. Only they now realize they don't actually have the confidence to match the bravado. While Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem and others in the administration preen about justifying last week's shooting and trumpet their war on domestic terrorism, DHS is privately divided and hesitant about their latest deployments. According to documents leaked to me, not only is the department seeking volunteers for the apparently unpopular mission, it is urging its agents to maintain a low profile and comply with use of force policies. And you look at their email, it says, be mindful of OPSEC. Do not wear your uniform or any piece of uniform. Do not display Border Patrol or law enforcement insignia anywhere you go. Do not divulge any information on operations. Be mindful of your social media. Turn off location settings on your phone. Always employ situational awareness. It goes on. On Friday, DHS sought volunteers to deploy to Minneapolis, in part due to opposition within the ranks. Please begin canvassing your personnel for volunteers, a memo sent by the Border Patrol's acting assistant chief, Joshua Andrew, post on Friday. The memo outlines a request for 300 additional personnel, 200 Border Patrol agents, and 100 processing coordinators to be funneled into Operation Metro Surge. A Border Patrol agent familiar with the discussion said the volunteer push reflects real unease in the ranks. We do have the personnel, but many guys just don't want to go, the agent said. They're basically worried that there's going to be heat on them. They're
Yeah,
worried
they
that they're
should
going to
be.
get doxxed. They're worried they're going to get attacked. They're worried that
Good.
they're going to become famous for this. Actually, there was just a big leak of a bunch of these guys' addresses and names.
Mm.
They leaked fucking the killer of Renee
Mm-hmm.
online. He had a Gadsden flag on his yard. Who does
Mm-hmm.
he think's doing the treading?
Well, that means don't tread on me.
Right. Exactly.
Me specifically.
It goes on to say, first of all, numerous people in the agency are just scared. A high level career official at Homeland Security told Ken there is genuine fear that indeed ICE's heavy handedness and the rhetoric from Washington is creating a condition where our lives are in danger rather than the other way around. End quote.
Oh, those so just so sad.
Rather than the
Well,
other way around is crazy.
it's fucking crazy. While you were reading that, I was looking up Kristi Noem's height and weight to decide if I could take her in a fight, and I definitely can. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, but at her podium, she had that literal Nazi slogan on it.
Yep.
That was like, what, one of ours, all of yours. It's so on the nose. Doing it because we are letting them get away with it. And at a certain point, people are going to stop letting them get away with it. Like, things are going to continue to escalate. I don't know the laws in Minnesota, and I think there is a reason they're doing some of these things in the blue states and not here in Texas the same way, because they would get shot and legally. Like, I am allowed to do that if you break into my house
Mm-hmm.
here. That's just the law. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just saying that is what the
Right.
law is here. And also in Texas, your car is considered an extension of your home, and you are allowed to shoot someone trying to break into your car in this state, just FYI. Sooner or later, some of those things are going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do when that happens. And sometimes I've seen, especially like the liberals that are like, stay peaceful when you protest, because they are worried that something will escalate, and that is an excuse to declare martial law, which is like something that the liberals keep talking about. They're so afraid of. How is that so different than what's already happening? Like, Minnesota, specifically the Twin Cities, people feel like they're under occupation already. There's like helicopters going all the time. There are thousands of these officers in their streets on top of their regular police and things that are already going on there. At a certain point, there will be a tipping point and something is going to give.
There's a great Onion article that's the headline is just protesters urged not to give Trump administration pretext for what it is already doing.
I mean, man, I swear to God, I can't say anything that the Onion hasn't already said.
Today's the day of me getting news alerts because Donald Trump just posted,
Oh, God.
and the White House posted it. We're going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. If you come to America to rob us, we're throwing you in jail and sending you back to the place from which you came. First of all, which one is it? Are you throwing them in jail or sending them back?
Those are two different things.
So yeah, I guess we're just going to start mass denaturalizing people, which is what they've been talking about for a minute.
I know that Trump was convicted of several things. Were some of them fraud? Was he convicted of fraud?
I honestly don't know. There was like a bunch in there.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
We'll have to denaturalize Trump.
Please deport him.
And anyway, Ken's article basically finishes saying that the language inside the DHS is confusing because in
Mm,
some ways they're getting this is us versus them. This is a war
mhm,
zone. These are
mhm,
terrorists. And then they get things saying, okay, but be careful because we don't want fights. And they're being told a bunch of different things. So now it's a volunteer basis because no one wants to go to Minneapolis. So
mhm.
who's going? The biggest freaks, even in ICE. And
Oh
everyone in
yeah.
ICE is a freak. So that's probably how you get situations like the one that I'm sure we'll learn more about that I just sort of broke live, as it were.
Yeah.
Though this will come out tomorrow, so it won't be remotely live.
Do you think that the reason they're going after the Somali population specifically, do you think it's a fairly small population? Same
Yes.
reason that trans people are so easy to attack. It's a small amount of the population. It's about what, a little less than 100,000 in the entire country, and I think it's about
Yep.
40,000 in the Twin Cities area. They're black, so that makes it easy for racists. A lot of them are Muslim, right? Some of the women wear hijab, and so they hate that. And then do you think it's also like personal, like he hates Ilhan Omar and she is Somali?
I think Ilhan
Probably,
Omar is a big part of it. I think
yeah.
you also got to think about it like this. Somali Americans are not particularly embedded in any power structure in this
Mhm.
country.
Mhm.
Majority of Somali immigrants that are here came over in the 90s. With some rare exceptions, there's not been time to set up these networks. Latin American communities have been here for a very long time. There's a
Mhm.
level of like integration. It is very hard to take on these communities as they learned in Los Angeles.
Mm.
I think they're finding it's not particularly easy to take on a Somali community either.
Right.
But I think that's part of the logic. I think part of the logic is that they're African. Send them back to Africa line is going to really ring with certain people. And I
Ugh.
think that like Trump hates Minnesota. He hates Tim Walz. He hates Ilhan Omar.
Mm.
And Somalia is a country that's not going to be able to push back very hard. When they were
Right.
deporting people to Colombia, Colombia was able to give them some shit about it,
Mhm.
was able
Mhm.
to push back. Somalia really has very little state capacity,
Mm.
in part due to US imperialism.
Mm.
So it's going to be very hard for them to stop whatever the Trump administration wants to
Right.
inflict on them.
Yeah, and I guess it is always easy to go after these scapegoats, right? These smaller communities. It is an easy choice, I guess, for open fascists or whatever to pick people that are easy to pick on.
JD Vance just went on Jesse Waters and said America has a Somali problem.
Wow.
Can't be more clear than that about
Wow.
what you mean. And
And a
Trump
lot of
also
these
posted
people
the other day that racist thing about Ilhan Omar married her brother, that type of shit.
I've been saying that forever. It's so grotesque.
Especially if you're Donald Trump who openly wants to fuck his daughter, by the
Which
way.
is which
Like
is worse, actually.
he's
That is
not the
worse.
he's clearly not the person to talk.
Right. I saw a black woman creator that was explaining why it was so easy to other Renee Good, even though she is a white woman. Oftentimes, this has happened throughout history, right? You look at the history of lynchings in the
Yeah.
South, and a lot of white people were also lynched. They were
Mhm.
specifically white people that stood up for their black neighbors.
Yeah.
Because of that, she was a very easy scapegoat before they even knew that she was queer. They will always look for these ways to other people, even if they maybe on the surface look like they fit your American dream person or whatever.
I saw online that sort of in the right sphere, a lot of it was like a misogyny thing too.
Sure, yeah.
And of course homophobia. I saw this guy and it went viral on Twitter. This guy who posted, I've been talked down to women like this my entire life. And it was just like
I
a picture
saw
of her
that.
yelling at the ice guy and looking vaguely smug. And it's like, okay, sorry you got bad grades, right? Like, what the fuck do you want us to do about it?
I mean, it's the whole, like 40% of cops thing, right? Like these men gravitate towards these jobs because they're fucking losers and they want to throw their weight around and beat up on people that they see as less than themselves with this immunity of the law behind them. It's tale as old as time, right? These people have been doing this for a long time. And these guys that join ICE are people that couldn't even get through the police academy,
Yeah.
which I feel like says a lot because it's not a difficult thing to get through.
I saw a journalist who did a little fun experiment, an openly left wing journalist who applied to join ICE, did not properly fill out the paperwork,
I read that.
intentionally failed the drug test, and was completely approved because they're trying to hit their recruitment metrics. And the
Hmm.
fact is, that even if ICE's approval rating is not nearly as low as it should be, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that people say they approve of ICE like want to be in it. It is still
That's
icky
true.
to a lot of people, as it should be, and we have to
Yeah.
make it more uncomfortable. We talked about this in our Neuromancer episode, but why did William Gibson say he dodged the draft? Because the good weed dealers wouldn't sell you weed and women wouldn't date you. That's what he said. That's a
I
bad
like that.
reason to not want to go
Yeah.
kill people, but
Uh,
like making something social suicide
mhm.
is a good start to making it a thing no one participates in.
Super side note, I really hate it when liberals do this. They talk about Trump a draft dodger, and I'm like, honestly, that's probably the most admirable thing he ever did in his life was not go to
Mhm.
Vietnam. Um,
No doubt.
Total side note.
No doubt. I wanted to close out today. Jesse Waters had a thing that went semi-viral of him talking about Renee and a bunch of insults about her. And one of the things he said was she was a self-proclaimed poet.
Right.
She was the winner of the Academy of American Poets Prize in 2020. She was more than a self-proclaimed poet. She was proclaimed by other people as a poet.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to read her poem that won that prize in 2020 to
Okay.
close
Nice.
out. I
Yep.
think that's something I wanted to share from her. So
Very
I'm going to
cool.
read that. On learning to dissect fetal pigs is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
I want back my rocking chairs, solipsist sunsets, and coastal jungle sounds that are tercets from cicadas and pentameter from the hairy legs of cockroaches. I've donated Bibles to thrift stores, mashed them in plastic trash bags with an acidic Himalayan salt lamp, the post baptism Bibles, the ones plucked from street corners from the meaty hands of zealots, the dumbed down, easy to read, parasitic kind. Remember more the slick rubber smell of high gloss biology textbook pictures. They burned the hairs inside my nostrils. And salt and ink that rubbed off on my palms. Under clippings of the moon at 2:45 a.m. I study and repeat. Ribosome, endoplasmic, lactic acid, stamen. At the IHOP on the corner of Powers and Stetson Hills. I repeated and scribbled until it picked its way and stagnated somewhere I can't point to anymore. Maybe my gut. Maybe therein, between my pancreas and large intestine, is the piddly brook of my soul. It's the ruler by which I reduce all things now, hard edged and splintering from knowledge that used to sit a cloth against fevered forehead. Can I let them both be? This fickle faith and this college science that heckles from the back of the classroom. Now I can't believe that the Bible and Quran and Bhagavad Gita are sliding long hairs behind my ear like mom used to, and exhaling from their mouths make room for wonder. All my understanding dribbles down the chin onto the chest and is summarized as life is merely to ovum and sperm, and where those two meet, and how often and how well, and what dies there. Anyway, I will link the poem in the show notes as well, because she does a lot of interesting things with form through the poem that I tried to capture in my pauses, but it's better to just read it. But wanted to share that at the end there.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I read
Yeah,
that
no
the other
doubt.
day. Very just creative and beautiful. Yeah.
No doubt.
And killed for no fucking reason.
Yeah. Well, folks, we appreciate you listening. And hopefully Lenore will be back next week, but we will certainly be back with another episode. Until then, definitely do what you need to do. How about
Mhm.
that?
Lenore, bring us some Venezuelan food when you come back.
We'd appreciate that, Lenore. Don't worry, guys. Patriots are in control. And by patriots, I mean Lenore.